Some people just don't get it, do they? Democrat strategist Donna Brazile was basically caught by Bill Maher lying through her teeth about why the party lost under Kamala Harris, and it's a moment where Bill's frustration with the modern left almost boils over on air. Just take a look at this and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Kamala Harris and Joe Biden won the hearts and minds of the American people, as well as the Electoral College, yet they were never given a mandate to do anything. But
you
they
mean Hillary? Hillary won.
No. Hillary
won the popular vote. So we actually have elected a woman. Yeah. It's just that our stupid system, the way we play the game, she didn't get elected. But we can't say that the country, and also the votes are now finally all in for this election. Kamala Harris lost by your mustache hair. That like this much, it's so close.
Always.
So, right.
You know, Bill, you said everyone at the table said something false. What did you say that was false?
Nothing. As ever. But the other false thing was, that she ran a great campaign. She did not run a great campaign, and you're going to keep losing if you insist that she ran a great campaign.
Donna represents precisely the crisis of leadership that the Democrats have right now, which is a complete refusal to own up to the losses under their watch. Sure, there's some churning we're expecting to see at the top when the DNC elects a new chairperson in February. But digging your head in the sand and pretending this Democrat campaign was anything but a disaster is a recipe to losing the next one. By the way, this is a great time to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we're speaking the hard truths that no one wants to say. And one of those truths is that the entire crop of the party's top leadership now has to go. Jamie Harrison, who's the current head of the DNC for the last 4 years, has presided over 2 elections, including the midterms, where the party failed to put up a significant challenge to the Republican Party as if gathered around Donald Trump. And their answer to that was Kamala Harris, the most disapproved vice president by polling data in the 21st century. How could that have turned out as anything but a complete train wreck in the crisis of leadership we see right now in the party?
We're not arguing about that.
All right,
we're arguing the campaign she ran. They asked her what she would do differently. She said, I can't think of anything. That's terrible.
How do we trust a party that was telling us with a straight face that Joe Biden could be president for 4 more years without any problem whatsoever? That's what the Democrats were telling us. It was a massive lie. We saw through it. Everyone saw through it.
Did you see him this week? Could you imagine if we were just starting on the next term? That was
First of all, happy birthday, Joe Biden. Happy birthday. Joe Biden turned 82 this week.
All right.
And Bill, I hope you're still kicking ass at 82.
I will be right here at this panel with you people specifically.
I'm gonna be right with you, honey.
What is it with the top of the Democrat Party and their strategists just refusing to even engage with questions head on? If someone like Donna Brazile or Jamie Harrison were actually serious about regrouping the party before the next election, the first step is to get a more Democrat, socialist, and economic populist wing out into the mainstream to push out the identity politics obsessed establishment. But what are we seeing instead? Well, the mere fact that Joe Biden wanted to cling on to power by running for a second time despite saying he wouldn't tells you there's a rift even between an old establishment wing that has lost the party and the election. And here's why. One of the leaders of the Harris-Walz campaign, Quentin Fawkes, has just come out this week with a bombshell admission during a podcast on Pod Save America. Quentin straight up said, quote, there was no contingency plan that the Democrat Party had with Kamala Harris in case Joe Biden dropped out or his health deteriorated further. Forget the party. How dangerous is that for the country? And how does that reflect on Kamala Harris? Because someone that couldn't even carry forward a political campaign was literally a heartbeat away from assuming the most powerful office on the planet. And there's absolutely no one that's buying this new excuse that Kamala Harris didn't get enough time for a proper campaign. 3.5 months on top of 3 years of being vice president should have been more than enough time to do a media spree that rallies up a political base. Instead, Kamala Harris's disastrous media strategy of sporadic and scripted interviews was the final nail in the coffin, especially with a single Trump podcast with Joe Rogan for 3 hours on 50 million views. Was both longer and more watched than all of Kamala's major interviews combined. There's no rhetorical room left to escape other than admitting that the campaign was disastrous from the start to finish. Commentator Andrew Sullivan couldn't help but say this truth as bluntly as possible, just to hammer home a simple truth that Donna Brazile refused to acknowledge.
The big issue, right? Was immigration. And
inflation, immigration.
Those two are very big issues. And you asked Vice President Harris, why did you let all these people in for the last 4 years? She did not have an answer. I still don't know the answer. They actually could, with an executive order, shut it down as they did earlier this year. So why did they not do it 3 years earlier? And I think people felt she did not respond to that in any way. She had no answer on inflation, and she also seemed to represent that whole woke zone that people are sick to death of. And I think those three did it.
I agree with the first two, because immigration, as I said, inflation was something. The Biden-Harris administration, they wrestled with that through the supply chain, through trying to lower the cost, making sure that people could afford their groceries and their gas. But still, childcare became a big issue, housing, the cost of housing. So while I do believe that they made significant gains, there's no question immigration became an issue. But I'm not going to get into this, oh, the people are too damn woke. That wasn't an issue. What happened?
Yeah, it was.
I disagree with you.
I know, and that's why you're going to keep losing.
No, man, look.
I mean, it's not to go. Okay.
Yeah.
But not to go back to the
white.
Okay, then what was it? If it wasn't the woke identity politics, the refusal to offer policy positions, or the lackluster governance, surely someone who's spent time at the DNC can point a finger at what led to the loss? Apparently not, because America got a peek into how much of the Democratic leadership has failed to read the room, that the country wanted a rock they could cling onto in those turbulent global times. Someone who says what they mean, knows what they're going to do, and isn't afraid to speak the tough truth. And that's at least in part what created such a rightward wave toward Donald Trump. So what does the DNC put out instead? Well, after the election, Kamala Harris made her first public appearance after a weeks-long vacation, almost appearing drunk and making even less sense than before. But that's just allegedly. Looking at this image tells you precisely why the country couldn't imagine someone like this leading the free world at a time when humanity stands on the cliff edge of another world war. And yet you see none of that recognition or the calls for course correction from someone like Donna Brazile, who's one of the few people close to the halls of the party power to impact that change. She's also not free from controversy herself, far from it, including admitting to prematurely giving town hall questions to Hillary Clinton as DNC chair in 2016, for which she's apologized. Donna's also been criticized for refusing to say Vivek Ramaswamy's name correctly, which many allege reeks of implicit racism. And to be clear, I got it wrong a few times, but very quickly corrected when I learned that I was wrong. It's just what you do.
And Vivek needs to just shut the hell up and go home. I'm tired of it.
We all hate Vivek. Okay. It's Vivek.
Vivek. Well, whatever. Not that I have... Vivek.
Whatever. Would you say that about other ethnic?
Donna, I'm Donna. Vivek. Is it Vivek Ramaswamy? Ramaswamy?
Ramaswamy.
Thank you so much. I learn so much when I come on this show.
I know.
Vivek? Vivek needs to go home.
But whatever you think of this, it's incredible that every new interview coming out of someone from the top of the Democratic Party reveals one thing, that they're painfully out of touch for why they lost and aren't willing to do any degree of introspection. As the party searches for a new face before the next election, younger names like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are reportedly considering a presidential run in 2028. But the common thread is that there will have to be a radical rethink within the party if it wants any change at winning. But let me know in the comments what you think will happen, and share this video with your Democrat friends to see if they're also disappointed with their party's leadership. They certainly don't have much time to correct course and get back on track.